Okay, so we're just continuing on in this video with our eye makeup. So just again going back and forth between MACs and making sure everything is sitting where we're expecting it to be. So I'm just going back in onto my epidermis layer here, and I'm going to paint in the pink of the eye. So where the waterline is, I want that to be a little bit more red than it is right now. So I'm just going through and doing that. Might have to bring it out a little bit further. There we go. So yeah, just continuing on painting in the eyeshadow and fixing up around the eye line. So once I'm happy with the one eye, I can copy and paste it. So I can copy it onto a new layer, or I can just drag and drop onto a new layer, and then I can flip it in the horizontal. So going to edit, transform, flip horizontal, and apply it to the other side of the eye. So here I'm just actually going to select it and drag it. So select and drag, and then go transform, flip horizontal. That'll leave it in the same layer. And while it's selected, I can still move it around and make sure that it's in the right position before deselecting. Okay, so I can do that the same with the eye makeup. So yeah, that's looking good. You can see the tear duct there, so that's coming along nicely. We can then continue on with maybe adding a little bit more blush or contouring the face a little bit more. I'll do this in the actual epidermis layer here. We're all doing all this in the epidermis layer. I can create a layer later for the, or a group, sorry, for the makeup. So I'm just contouring a bit here. So I'm using a lighter color, and I'm just putting in strokes of color where the highlights would be, so along the bridge of the nose and the top of the cheekbones, and then I'll blend that out using smudge and blur, just to add a little bit more of contouring, highlights I should say, to the face. Contouring I'll do with the shadows. I can then add a little bit of blush to the cheek as well. Again, I can be heavy-handed with this and then bring back the opacity on the layer. If I like one side better than the other, I can always delete the one side and then, like I did with the eyelashes, select it, copy it, and flip it over to the other side. With the lips, I'm going to start with the darker colour on the outline, so I'm going to put line the lips first, and then I'm going to put the colour mostly in the corners and work my way towards the centre of the lips, so kind of making like an ombre effect, or a gradient effect if you prefer that. So just working from the corners of the mouth, lining it first, so putting a bit of lip liner on to make sure that I've got it in the right position, and then I can fill in the lip, starting again from the corners and working towards the centre. Here in a new layer, I'm going to create the highlights using a very light color. I'm just going to follow the strokes of my lips. So I've laid down a base color and then I've used the eraser tool to follow the lines in the normal map, just to bring that highlight to the bottom of the lip. Okay, I think she's almost done. If I have a look in Max, yep, that's coming along nicely, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to move on to the next part of the model, and so the quickest areas would be the inner mouth, so just grabbing a dark color, and it's just making a gradient really from the center of the mouth out towards the lips, and then trying to join the lip with the inside of the mouth as well. So I'll use the same color as I did for on the lipstick and blend that out into the mouth as well. Again, not paying too much attention to this area since it is the inside of the mouth. You don't get to see that very often, so I'm not going to worry about it too much, but just laying down color so that it doesn't look odd when she opens her mouth and you see, I don't know, gaping black or something. Okay, so now we'll move on to the hair. I'm going to need to do the same thing as I did with the hair as I did with the face. So all these holes where it's clipped through when I've created the ambient occlusion map, I need to fix. So I'm just going through with the smudge tool and just bringing them together. So working it from each side of the hair, so bringing it forward and bringing it back, just to smudge it out. So I've used 100% on this one for the strength, just so I can do it as quickly as possible. Once I'm done with that, I can set it to multiply. I've just fixed the bottom of the hair by just adding a darker colour through it and applying the mask to the new AO layer so it affects the hair only, and then obviously naming it and playing with the opacity until I get something that I like. With that done, we can start to paint our hair. So I'm going to, again, like I did with everything else, start with the shadows or the mid colours and work my way up. So I'm using a brush set that I've found online for brushes that I've used for ages to create hair. You can find them anywhere, just find Photoshop brushes, but what you're looking for is kind of like a speckled brush. You don't want to use an actual like strip of hair. It won't fit with the style of this character, so I'm looking for more of a speckled thing so I can paint it myself. And again, I'm just following where the shadows are on the AO, and I'm laying in where the shadows of the hair would fall. I'll end up going like I did with the body. I'll turn off the color maps, and I can use the normal maps as a guide when I do this as well. Now, you'll need to do the same thing for each of the strips, but it'll be a lot easier with the strips because you don't have to adhere to any of the normal maps or anything like that. You just need to paint in some darks and some highlights and stuff like that on the strip itself. So again, rotating the canvas when I need to and adjusting my opacity and what have you in order to get the variations throughout the hair. So, and again with the ponytail, just starting with the darks and building up. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I've now picked a darker colour, and I'm going to go back through on a different layer and add a little bit more darker strands throughout the hair, and again with a different brush as well to give it a variety of strands throughout it. So this will be easier to work with on the normal map. I'll delete that because I didn't quite like it, and I'll start again. So just in the deeper recesses of the hair, just to add a little bit more depth to the colour. Okay, so we'll leave this video here and we'll continue on in the next.